Good morning, my wild and beautiful friends. I'm so glad you're here. I recently figured out a new way to meal prep that really works for me, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So I thought I'd take you along to the grocery store where we can pick up a few key ingredients that will be super versatile for all week long. Keep on watching to see what we're making. I promise you won't want to miss it. Okie dokie, guys. We're going to do this kind of in real time so you can see how I get everything together and how it all comes together around the same time. I've got 2 purple sweet potatoes that I've peeled and chopped up. I'm going to toss them in some olive oil and salt and pepper and throw them in the oven at 400 degrees until they're nice and crispy. Theoretically, by the time we're done with everything else, these potatoes will be cooked perfectly. Little side note, if you haven't had roasted purple sweet potatoes, you're missing out. This is like one of my new favorite fibrous, delicious foods. And with trying to keep a balanced macronutrient situation in our meal prep, this is our complex carbohydrate. Okay, into that 400 degree oven we go. Next up, I'm going to start soaking our soy curls. I am so happy our local natural grocers just started carrying these. Typically, I'd have to get them online. For real. These are by far my favorite vegan protein option. They're super low fat. They have an amazing texture and they'll take on any flavor you cook with them. They come dehydrated like this, so they're kind of like crackery, but once you rehydrate them, they turn into this like lovely chickeny texture. So before we cook them off in a pan, I'm gonna let these soak with some warm water just until we're done making our little slaw. So maybe like 10 or so minutes. Just make sure when you're doing this, you cover all of the little soy curls with water so everything gets nice and hydrated. I'm gonna push these aside. And like I said, I'm gonna make a super simple slaw. This is gonna brighten everything up and add some greens to our meal prep. So I've got some really roughly chopped cilantro in a bowl here, maybe about a half a cup. I'm totally eyeballing everything. I eyeball it and then kind of taste it and add things as I go to see what I prefer. I'm then gonna cut in about 1/8 of a cup of chopped green onions, more or less if you prefer. One of the lovely things about this slaw is that the cruciferous veggies tend to hold really well, so you can make a big batch and it just tastes better and better over the days of the week. Next up, I'm gonna juice an entire lime into that mixture we've got going. We're kind of trying to make a little bit of a dressing situation, and then we'll toss in our cabbage and the like actual slawness. That's a technical term. Then I'm gonna add a healthy amount of fresh ground black pepper and a bit of garlic salt. Again, we're gonna kind of taste this as we go, so I'm not going too crazy just yet. And then to bring everything together, I'm going to add a couple squirts of vegan mayo. It's probably about 3 tablespoons total. I'm gonna add a little bit, mix this together so we kind of get like a really chunky, thinner dressing coated on all of our little greens here. I find this is helpful for when you add the bigger vegetables. It gets everything coated really nicely. Now let's talk slaw. You can totally shred your own cabbage, but I find it's really simple and pretty inexpensive to just buy a bag of coleslaw mix. It has the carrots, it has the cabbage, everything shredded really nicely into bite-sized pieces. So that's typically what I'll buy. And I just dump it in by a handful or 2 at a time, toss it all together, get everything nice and coated, give it a taste, maybe add a little bit more garlic salt, a little bit more lime to thin things out, or even a little bit more mayo to make it a little more creamy. This is really the only fat we've got going on as far as the dressing goes, so I'm pretty generous with it because it's just going to be a little bit of a topping. For this batch, I think I used probably about 4 cups of the mix, but do you make it as creamy or as limey or as vegetable-y as you feel comfortable. You can even omit the mayo altogether and just do that lime dressing. You can also add jalapeños, which I think is quite good as well. Okay, slaw done. Back to our soy curls. They have been soaking, like I said, for about 10 or so minutes. They're nice and pliable and chickeny. They're ready to be drained and then thrown into a saucepan. I like to get them browned up a little bit before I do anything else to them to make the texture just a little bit more chewy and not so soggy. So once everything's been drained in a colander, I'm just throwing them into this pan with a bit of olive oil. I'm gonna let them brown up on medium heat. While that's happening, I'm adding a can of black beans to a pot here, along with a package of refried black beans and a jalapeno, of course, as you can see. I'm also gonna add a half a can of this chipotle sauce. I'm saving the other half for our soy curls, so I'm gonna do that and then add a half a cup of water to get everything kind of thinned out and mixing around. It'll thicken back up as we cook it. Once all those ingredients are together, I'm gonna let them simmer on medium heat while we brown up our soy curls. I like to do all of this separate because it gives that chicken a little bit better of a texture. We'll mix it all together in the end anyway, but it does make a difference to do it separately. That was clearly very hard for me to say. I'm adding the rest of our chipotle sauce to our soy curls now that they're just a little browned. I'm gonna add a little water in there. Waste not, want not, right? I'm gonna mix that around. It's gonna give a really nice spice. I didn't realize chipotle and black beans might be one of my favorite flavor combinations. If you haven't tried, you should. You can definitely do the beans from dried as well, but this is just a really quick way for me to get something done during the week. Okay guys, it's been 40 minutes tops and we've got all our ingredients and I can't wait to share with you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make some tacos, but really this recipe can be used for nachos, burritos, salads. The main ingredients are the stars of the show. Any way you want to eat them, even on their own, is just perfect. And it's got the right amount of carbs, fats, and protein, in my opinion, to make me feel full and satisfied. So I'm adding a bit of beans to both of these little street tacos first. It's got those jalapeños cooked down in them. Oh my gosh, so good. Then a bit of our chipotle soy curls. And I almost entirely forgot about our sweet potatoes. So I'm just gonna add a few of those little guys to the side. They add a nice little punch of sweetness and that potato texture that's so satisfying. And let's be honest, there's something just gorgeous about the purple color, which makes me want to eat them even more. Lastly, I'm gonna top these little babies with a very generous amount of that slaw. Adds a perfect zing and creaminess. Y'all, if you know me even a little bit, you know I can definitely eat. And I am being 1000% honest when I say these two tacos filled me up like crazy. So good and so satisfying. I mean, look at these tacos. So stinking good. And the best part about this meal prep, I don't have to put them in little containers. I literally just stack the chicken, the beans, and the potatoes, throw it in the fridge with a lid, scoop out a bit as I want it, put it on a salad, throw it on some taco shells. This is honestly a way for me to meal prep that I actually utilize. The other stuff comes and goes. I have to be motivated. This keeps it simple and it keeps me eating things that are healthy, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I really hope that this video is helpful or maybe a little bit inspirational in ways that you can meal prep without it being a giant deal full of millions of Tupperwares that you may or may not eat throughout the week. I know it's been like that for me in the past. This, for me, seems to be simplified enough and tasty enough for me to actually stick with it. Little side note before I forget, I do keep the slaw separate in its own container just so it doesn't get everything super soggy with that lime juice. But still, I'd say very simple. And having an excuse to eat tacos every day in some shape or form really works for me. Love you so much. Can't wait to talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.